Gotham was burning. Smoke coiled through the shattered skyline like a living thing, swallowing the moon whole. The streets below were rivers of chaos, screams, sirens, the thunder of collapsing buildings. And above it all, standing atop the skeletal remains of Wayne Tower, two figures clashed in a storm of violence. Batman moved like a ghost, his cape whipping in the scorching wind. His armor was cracked, blood seeping through the seams. Every breath was fire in his lungs, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. His enemy was Nyx, the Shadow Sovereign, a being of living darkness, its body shifting between smoke and jagged obsidian. Its eyes burned like dying stars, feeding on the terror of the city below. "You cannot win, Bat," Nyx hissed, its voice a chorus of whispers. "Fear is my domain, and you are drowning in it." Batman lunged, his gauntlet blade slashing. Nyx dissolved into smoke, reforming behind him. A blackened claw raked across his back, sending him crashing onto the broken concrete. Pain exploded through his ribs, his vision blurred. Somewhere in the distance, a child screamed. Bruce Wayne gritted his teeth and forced himself up. His body screamed in protest, but his mind was cold, focused. He had fought monsters before. He would fight this one until his last breath. Nyx loomed over him, its form swelling with the city's despair. "You are just a man," it mocked. "And men break." Then, a golden streak split the sky. The lasso of truth lashed through the air like lightning, wrapping around Nyx's arm. The creature shrieked as the divine light seared its shadow flesh. And then she landed. Wonder Woman crashed onto the rooftop with the force of a meteor, her armor gleaming under the firelight. Her eyes burned with the fury of a warrior who had faced gods and won. "You are not welcome here," she growled. Nyx recoiled, hissing like a cornered beast. Batman didn't smile, didn't speak. But for the first time that night, the weight on his shoulders felt a little lighter. The battle wasn't over. But now, neither was he alone. The Batcave hummed with the low, steady pulse of machines. Shadows stretched long across the stone walls, flickering under the glow of emergency lights. The air smelled of antiseptic, blood, and the faint metallic tang of the Batcomputer working overtime. Batman lay on the med table, his armor peeled away to reveal the damage beneath. Dark bruises spider-webbed across his ribs. A gash ran from his collarbone to his sternum, the edges blackened, as if the wound itself was rotting. His breathing was shallow, controlled, but every exhale carried the faintest tremor. Diana moved with purpose, her hands steady as she cleaned the injury. The golden bands on her wrists gleamed under the harsh lights, reflecting in the sweat on Bruce's brow. "You should have called for help sooner," she said, voice tight. Bruce's jaw clenched. Didn't have time. Alfred stood nearby, his usual composure fraying at the edges. The old butler's fingers hovered over the medical scanner, its screen flashing red with warnings. "Master Bruce, this isn't just physical trauma. Your vitals are—" He trailed off, lips pressing into a thin line. Diana looked up. "What is it?" Alfred hesitated. Then, with a quiet exhale, he turned the screen toward her. The readings were clear. Bruce's heart rate was erratic, his blood pressure plummeting, and pulsing through his veins like ink in water was something foreign, a shadowy toxin spreading. Diana's grip on the gauze tightened. Nyx did this. Bruce didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on the ceiling, as if he could already see the inevitable unfolding above him. Alfred adjusted the IV drip, his voice brittle. "The compound is attacking his cardiovascular system. Without a counteragent, his heart will fail within days." A beat of silence. Then Bruce pushed himself upright, ignoring the way his muscles screamed. "Then we find one." Diana's hand shot out, pressing him back down with effortless strength. "No, you're in no condition to. I don't have a choice." His voice was gravel, rough with pain but unyielding. "Nyx is still out there. Gotham isn't safe." Diana met his glare, her own eyes blazing. "And if you die?" The words hung between them, sharp as a blade. Alfred cleared his throat. "There may be another option." He pulled up a new file, an archived Wayne Tech project, long abandoned. Kryptonian physiology produces a unique enzyme. In theory, it could purge foreign toxins at the cellular level. Bruce's brow furrowed. Kryptonian? Diana straightened. Superman. Alfred nodded. But the last known sample was stored in the Fortress of Solitude. And after its destruction, Bruce understood. The serum was gone. The cave fell silent, save for the steady beep of the heart monitor. Then Diana turned, her cape swirling behind her. Then we find another way. Bruce's head snapped up. Diana. But she was already moving, snatching her sword from where it leaned against the back computer. You once told me Gotham needed Batman, she said, pausing at the cave's entrance. But right now, he needs to stay alive. The elevator doors slid shut behind her before he could argue. Alfred exhaled, long and weary. Stubborn, the both of you. Bruce stared at the closed doors, his fists tightening. Somewhere in the city, Nix was waiting. And time was running out. The Batwing screamed through storm clouds, its wings slicing through sheets of icy rain. Inside the cockpit, Batman's fingers flew across the controls, rerouting power to the failing thrusters. Warning lights flashed crimson across his bruised face. ETA 2 minutes, Alfred's voice crackled through the calm. Though I still maintain this is madness. Bruce didn't answer. His vision swam at the edges, the toxin burning through his veins like liquid fire. The holographic map showed their destination pulsing red. The hidden cove where ancient Amazonian legends spoke of the Fountain of Lethe. A myth, a gamble, his last hope. The jet shuddered violently as it broke through the cloud cover. Below them, jagged cliffs rose from thrashing black waves, and there carved into the stone like a wound, the cavern entrance. Hold on. The Batwing clipped the cliffside, shearing off a wing in an explosion of sparks. The world became a deafening roar of twisting metal as they crashed through the cavern mouth, skidding across wet stone in a shower of sparks. Silence. Then, movement. Bruce kicked the shattered canopy free, rolling onto the slick cavern floor. His ribs screamed in protest. Through the smoke, Diana emerged unscathed, her golden bracelets glowing faintly in the gloom. You're getting worse, she observed, eyeing the dark veins creeping up his neck. He ignored the comment, activating a wrist-mounted scanner. The blue light revealed strange carvings along the walls, warnings in dead languages. This is it. The entrance to the underworld's border. As if summoned, the ground trembled. The carvings began to bleed dark smoke that coalesced into figures, skeletal warriors clad in spectral armor, their eye sockets burning with ghostly fire. Hades' Legion. The lead specter leveled the rusted spear. No living soul may pass. Its voice echoed like 1,000 dying whispers. Diana drew her sword, the blade humming with divine energy. We're not asking permission. What followed was chaos given form. Bruce moved with desperate precision, his batarangs passing harmlessly through the specters only for Diana's lasso to yank them solid. She fought like a storm given flesh, her blade cleaving through ranks of the undead. But for every warrior felled, 2 more emerged from the walls. A spear grazed Bruce's arm, and the wound burned with unnatural cold. He staggered, the toxin in his blood flaring in response. Diana noticed instantly, covering his retreat with sweeping strikes that sent ectoplasm splattering across the stones. There's too many, she shouted over the wails of the damned. Bruce's scanner beeped wildly. He looked down. The reading showed something massive approaching. Diana, move. The cavern floor erupted. A monstrous figure rose, 10 feet tall with flesh like burned parchment, its crown made of screening faces. The guardian of the threshold. Oh, Lash, more TLs. It boomed. The waters, H-E-A-L-W-U-N-D-S. But demand EQL sacrifice. Diana didn't hesitate. Name your price. The creature's lipless mouth twisted into something like a smile. It pointed a clawed finger at Bruce. Flesh, F-4-F flesh. Bruce barely had time to react before the cavern exploded with movement. A phalanx of spears launched toward them. Diana whirled, deflecting most, but one got through. The obsidian tip punched through her armor below the ribs. Bruce's world narrowed to that single moment, the way Diana's eyes widened, the shocked gasp that escaped her lips as she looked down at the spear protruding from her stomach. Then everything went red. His next actions were pure instinct. The last batarang found the guardian's eye. His boot connected with its knee in a crunch of ancient bone. As the creature roared, Bruce wrenched the spear free from Diana's body and drove it through the guardian's chest with a snarl that came from somewhere primal. The spectral army dissolved into screaming mist. Silence fell, broken only by Diana's labored breathing as she slumped against the cavern wall. Bruce was at her side instantly, his hands pressing against the wound. The blood was too dark. The edges of the injury were already blackening. Poison. The guardian's dying words echoed through the cavern. The fountain lies beyond, but the price remains. Bruce looked at Diana's paling face, then at the dark veins crawling up his own arms. Somewhere ahead, water shimmered, and he knew only one of them would walk out alive. The fountain's chamber glowed with an eerie bioluminescence, the underground pool radiating an unnatural blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Steam curled from its surface, carrying the scent of salt and something metallic, like blood diluted in seawater. Diana coughed, her hand pressed to the wound at her side. Black veins spider-webbed outward from the injury, the poison working fast. She leaned heavily against Bruce, each step forward more labored than the last. "You should have left me," she gritted out. Bruce didn't answer. His own vision blurred at the edges, the toxin in his blood making every movement feel like wading through wet cement. But he tightened his grip around her waist, half dragging her toward the water's edge. The pool's surface rippled as they approached, though there was no wind. Ancient carvings lined the rim, warnings in languages even Diana only partially recognized. One phrase repeated, "The price will be taken." Bruce lowered Diana onto a smooth stone ledge beside the water. Her skin had taken on a sickly pallor, her breathing shallow. He reached for his utility belt, fingers fumbling for the last remaining antidote vial, a general-purpose toxin neutralizer, useless against whatever hellish poison coated that spear. Diana caught his wrist. "Save it." Her grip was weaker than it should have been. "This isn't something your gadgets can fix." A drop of water fell from the cavern ceiling, striking the pool's surface. The resulting ripple distorted their reflections. For a brief moment, Bruce saw himself as a corpse, Diana as a statue of crumbling marble. He looked back at the entrance. No signs of pursuit, yet. "We need to move fast," he said, voice rough. That thing said flesh for flesh. Maybe it means. Diana suddenly stiffened. Her free hand flew to her abdomen. "Bruce." The black veins had spread. Fast, too fast. They now reached her collarbone, pulsing beneath her skin like living things. When she coughed again, flecks of dark blood spattered her chin. Bruce's stomach dropped. He'd seen wounds like this before, in Gotham's alleys, in the aftermath of Scarecrow's fear toxin trials. The body shutting down cell by cell. He grabbed the canteen from his belt and dipped it into the glowing water. It came up shimmering, the liquid almost alive in its luminescence. Diana's fingers closed around his. "Wait." Bruce met her gaze. The usual fire in her eyes was dimming, but the determination remained. "You don't know what this will do," she said. "I know what will happen if we don't try." A rumble shook the cavern. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere in the tunnels behind them, something screeched, high-pitched and hungry. The Guardian's minions were coming. Bruce pressed the canteen into Diana's hands. "Drink." She hesitated, then, with a shuddering breath, raised it to her lips, only to freeze as the water inside suddenly turned black. The pool's glow flickered, died. From the darkness beneath their feet, a voice whispered, the price was not paid. Bruce's head snapped up. The water wasn't just dark, it was receding, draining through cracks in the stone floor. As it vanished, so did the light. Shadows lengthened. The temperature dropped. Diana slumped forward. Bruce barely caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin burned with fever, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Another rumble, closer this time. The screeches multiplied. Bruce looked at the empty pool, at Diana's worsening condition, at his own trembling hands. Then he made his decision. With one sharp movement, he jammed the adrenaline injector from his belt into Diana's neck. Her back arched as the stimulant hit her system, buying minutes at most. Before she could react, He hauled her up and toward the cavern's far wall, where a narrow tunnel promised escape. Bruce. Diana struggled against him, but the poison had stolen her strength. What are you? He shoved her into the tunnel's mouth. Go. Her eyes widened in realization. No. But he was already turning, already pulling the last explosive charge from his belt, already priming it. The first of the creatures rounded the corner, a skittering, skeletal thing with too many joints. Then another, and another. Bruce pressed the detonator. The explosion lit up the cavern like a dying sun. The tunnel collapsed in a roar of stone and dust, sealing Diana on one side, him on the other. As the darkness swallowed him whole, the last thing he heard was Diana screaming his name. Then silence. Smoke and rubble filled the collapsed tunnel. Bruce coughed, tasting blood and dust. His ears rang from the explosion. The emergency light on his gauntlet flickered weakly, casting jagged shadows across the cavern walls. Somewhere beyond the rockfall, Diana's voice echoed, muffled but furious. He could hear her pounding against the stone, the telltale hum of her gauntlets charging up. She'd break through eventually. He had to move fast. Bruce staggered to his feet. The toxin burned through his veins like acid. Every step sent white-hot pain up his spine. But he forced himself forward, deeper into the cavern system, following the faintest whisper of moving air. The tunnel opened into a vast underground lake, the true source of the fountain. The water here glowed an eerie green, swirling with unnatural currents. At its center stood a stone dais, and on it, a body. Bruce's breath caught. Not just any body. Himself. The figure on the dais wore his armor, his face, even the fresh wounds from Nick's attack. But its skin was translucent, revealing pulsing black veins beneath. As Bruce approached, its eyes snapped open, solid white. The price must be paid, it hissed with Bruce's own voice. A trap. A test. Bruce's hand went to his belt, empty. No weapons left. No gadgets. Just his fists and his fading strength. Across the lake, movement. Shadows detached from the walls, taking form. Scaled creatures with too many eyes, their claws clicking against stone. The guardians of this place. Coming for him. The doppelganger rose from the dais. Flesh for flesh, it repeated. Your life for hers. Bruce's vision swam. The toxin was winning. He had minutes before collapse. Seconds before the creatures reached him. Then he saw it. A glint in the fake Bruce's chest. A shard of black crystal, pulsing in time with his own weakening heartbeat. The source of the illusion. The creature surged forward. Bruce moved on instinct. He sprinted straight for the doppelganger, ignoring the searing pain in his lungs. The fake Bruce lashed out, a perfect mirror of his own fighting style. They traded blows, each impact sending shockwaves through Bruce's failing body. One of the creatures leaped, claws raking his back. Bruce spun, driving his elbow into its throat. Another came from the left. He broke its arm with a sharp twist. But there were too many. A clawed hand gripped his ankle, yanking him down. The doppelganger loomed over him, raising a fist. Bruce caught its wrist. With his last strength, he headbutted the thing right where the crystal pulsed in its chest. A crack. The illusion shattered. The creatures dissolved into smoke. The doppelganger's form rippled, then collapsed inward, leaving only the black crystal hovering above the dais. Bruce crawled toward it. Every movement was agony. His vision tunneled. The crystal pulsed faster as he reached for it. Then, a deafening crash from the tunnel entrance. Diana burst through the remaining rubble, her armor scorched, eyes blazing. She took in the scene instantly. Bruce bleeding on the ground, the crystal, the reforming shadows at the edges of the chamber. No, her lasso snapped out, wrapping around the crystal just as Bruce's fingers brushed it. A shockwave blasted outward. The cavern trembled, the lake's waters churned violently. And in that chaos, as the crystal hovered between them, pulsing with stolen life. A choice. Bruce met Diana's eyes across the collapsing chamber. Then he lunged, not for the crystal, but past it, straight into the raging waters of the fountain. Burview City. Diana's scream followed him down as the green depths swallowed him whole. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was the crystal shattering, its black energy dissipating into the air. The price had been paid. The world came back in flashes. Cold stone against his cheek, the metallic taste of blood in his mouth, a distant, rhythmic dripping of water. Bruce groaned, forcing his eyes open. His body felt hollowed out, his muscles screaming as he pushed himself up on trembling arms. The cavern spun around him. He was alive. Somehow. The fountain's waters lay still now, their eerie glow faded to a dull green. The shattered remains of the black crystal littered the days like broken glass. And standing over him, Diana. Her armor was scorched, her face streaked with dirt and blood, but her eyes burned with something fierce. Relief, fury, something deeper. "You idiot," she breathed. Roos coughed, rolling onto his knees. His veins no longer pulsed black. Whatever he'd done in the water had purged Nick's toxin. But the cost. He looked at his hands. The skin was too pale, almost translucent in places. When he flexed his fingers, they shook. Diana hauled him to his feet with more force than necessary. "Don't ever," her voice cracked. She shook him once hard. "Don't you ever do that again." Bruce opened his mouth. The cavern exploded. A shockwave of pure darkness blasted through the chamber, sending them both sprawling. The air itself seemed to scream as the walls cracked apart, revealing swirling black mist beyond. And from that mist, Nyx. The Shadow Sovereign hovered above the ruined fountain, his form more solid than before. The wounds from their last battle were gone. His obsidian claws gleamed as he flexed them. "You stole from me," Nyx hissed. The voice wasn't just sound. It vibrated in Bruce's bones, in his teeth. "That life was mine." Diana was already moving, sword flashing gold as she charged. Nyx backhanded her mid-leap, a casual, brutal motion that sent her crashing into the far wall with a sickening crunch. Bruce lunged for a fallen rock, anything to use as a weapon. Nyx flicked his wrist. Darkness coiled around Bruce's throat, lifting him off his feet. He choked, clawing at the shadowy tendril as it dragged him toward Nyx's waiting grasp. "I will peel the flesh from your bones," Nyx whispered, his face inches from Bruce's. "And make her watch." Then light. A golden lasso wrapped around Nyx's arm, yanking him backward. Diana stood braced against the rubble, blood trickling from her temple, but her grip unshakable. "Let him go." Nyx snarled, and the shadows holding Bruce dissolved. He hit the ground rolling, gasping for air as the two titans clashed. Diana moved like lightning, her sword carving arcs of light through the darkness. But Nyx was faster now, stronger. Every strike she landed seemed to barely faze him. Bruce forced himself up, his vision swam. His body begged him to stop. He ignored it. Scanning the cavern, his eyes landed on the shattered crystal fragments. The black shards still pulsed faintly with his own stolen vitality. An idea formed, a terrible one. As Diana and Nyx traded earth-shaking blows, Bruce staggered to the dais. He grabbed the largest crystal shard. It burned his palm, but he held tight. Then he ran. Straight for Nyx. The Shadow Sovereign turned just in time to see Bruce plunge the shard into his own chest. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, a scream, not Bruce's. Nyx's form rippled violently as the stolen energy reversed course, pouring out of him and back into Bruce in a torrent of golden light. The Shadow Sovereign clawed at his own chest, his body unraveling at the edges. "No, this is not." The light grew brighter, brighter, then detonated. The blast threw Bruce backward. He hit the ground hard, skidding to a stop at Diana's feet. Silence. Nyx was gone. Only fading motes of light remained, drifting through the ruined cavern like dying fireflies. Diana dropped to her knees beside Bruce. Her hands hovered over the crystal shard still embedded in his chest, unsure whether to pull it out or leave it. Bruce coughed. His lips were bloody, but he managed a grim smile. "Told you I had a plan." Then his eyes rolled back, and the cavern went dark. The world returned in fractured pieces. First came the pain, white-hot and searing, radiating from Bruce's chest where the crystal shards still protruded. Then came the smell of antiseptic and ozone, the steady beep of a heart monitor, the murmur of hushed voices. Bruce forced his eyes open. The Batcave's medical base swam into focus. Tubes and wires snaked from his arms to blinking machines. Alfred stood at his bedside, his face drawn with exhaustion. Diana hovered near the doorway, arms crossed, her armor replaced by simple black fatigues. "You're awake." Alfred's voice was carefully neutral, but his hands trembled as he adjusted an IV drip. Bruce tried to sit up. Fire exploded through his ribs. He fell back with a grunt. "Don't." Diana stepped forward, her jaw tight. "The shard missed your heart by millimeters. You move, you die." Bruce's fingers brushed the bandages covering his chest. Beneath them, he could feel the unnatural heat of the crystal fragments still embedded in his flesh. "How long?" 3 days, Alfred said. He tapped a monitor displaying Bruce's vitals, all erratic, all wrong. "The crystal is feeding on you, slowly. We can't remove it without killing me." Bruce finished. He'd known the risk when he plunged it into his own chest. Diana moved to the foot of the bed. "Nyx is gone. But so is the fountain's power." She met his gaze. "The poison in my blood is returning." Bruce's stomach dropped. He could see it now. The faint shadow creeping back into the veins at her wrists. The slight tremor in her hands she was trying to hide. Alfred cleared his throat. "There is one option." He pulled up a holographic display, a schematic of the Wayne Tech organ replicator. The crystal's energy could be transferred, used to synthesize a cure. Bruce understood instantly, but it would take everything left in me to power it. Silence filled the cave. Diana's fists clenched. "No." Bruce didn't hesitate. "Do it." "Bruce." It's not a debate. He was already reaching for the controls, inputting commands with shaking fingers. The machines around him whirred to life, extending surgical arms from the ceiling. Alfred looked between them, then straightened his vest with a shaky breath. "I'll prepare the system." He left quickly, his footsteps echoing. Diana slammed her palm on the bed rail hard enough to dent metal. "There has to be another way." Bruce ignored the pain as he sat up fully. "You know there isn't." The machines hummed, positioning themselves around him. A laser scalpel glinted in the low light. Diana grabbed his wrist. For the first time since he'd known her, her touch was gentle. "Please." Bruce looked at her, really looked, at the dark circles under her eyes, at the way her shoulders sagged when she thought no one was watching, at the faint black veins creeping up her neck. He pulled free. "Start the procedure." The machines moved as one. The laser made no sound as it cut into Bruce's chest. His back arched, teeth gritted against the scream building in his throat. Blood welled around the crystal as the surgical arms carefully extracted it. Diana didn't look away, didn't flinch. Her eyes burned into his, anchoring him as the pain threatened to drag him under. The crystal came free with a sickening pop. Bruce gasped, his vision going white at the edges. The machines immediately transferred the shard to a waiting chamber, where it pulsed violently as Alfred's program activated. "Energy transfer initiated," a robotic voice announced. Bruce slumped back, his breath coming in shallow pants. The heart monitor's beeping grew frantic. Diana gripped the bed rail so hard it bent. "You stubborn, self-sacrificing Batman," Bruce rasped. His lips twitched in something almost like a smile. "That's the job description." The machines chimed. A vial filled with glowing liquid emerged from the synthesizer. Alfred hurried forward with it, his eyes wet. "It's ready." Bruce nodded weakly toward Diana. "Give it to her." As Alfred pressed the vial into Diana's hand, the heart monitor flatlined. A single, endless tone filled the cave. Diana didn't move, didn't breathe. The vial trembled in her grip. Then, a weak gasp. Bruce's back arched as his heart stuttered back to life. The monitor resumed its steady beep, slower now, but there. Alfred let out a choked laugh. "You absolute madman." Diana's fingers closed around the vial. Her eyes never left Bruce's face as she raised it to her lips and drank. Sunlight streamed through the windows of the Wayne Manor medical suite, painting golden stripes across the sterile white sheets. Birds chirped outside, a sound so normal it felt foreign after weeks of darkness. Bruce's fingers twitched against the mattress before he forced his eyes open. The ceiling above him was familiar. Home. Alfred dozed in a chair nearby, his head slumped forward, still wearing the same rumpled suit from the cave. Tubes ran from Bruce's arms to silent machines that had long since been turned off. The only sound was his own steady breathing. He tried to sit up. Muscles screamed in protest, but they obeyed. His chest ached where the crystal had been removed, but the wound was healed. Only a jagged scar remained. The door creaked open. Diana stood framed in sunlight, her arms crossed. No armor, no weapons, just a simple black tank top that showed the fading traces of dark veins along her collarbone, the last remnants of Nick's poison being purged from her system. "You're awake." Her voice was carefully neutral. Bruce nodded. His throat was too dry for words. She crossed to the bedside table and poured a glass of water. The silence between them stretched, taut as a tripwire. When she handed him the glass, their fingers brushed, just for a second, and he felt the barely there tremor in her hands. Alfred stirred, blinking awake. When he saw Bruce sitting up, his face did something complicated before settling into its usual dry expression. "Good, you're alive. Shall I cancel the funeral arrangements?" Bruce huffed something almost like a laugh. "How long?" 2 weeks, Diana said. 2 weeks, the longest he'd been down since Bane broke his back. Alfred stood, straightening his vest. "I'll inform the others you've rejoined the land of the living." He paused at the door. "Try not to die again before breakfast." The door clicked shut behind him. Diana didn't move. The sunlight caught the gold in her bracelets as she flexed her hands. "You gave me your life." Bruce set the glass down carefully. "I gave you a chance." Her eyes flashed, that familiar fire returning. "You sacrificed yourself without hesitation. Would you have?" The question hung between them. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed, Gotham's endless song. Diana turned toward the window. "The world needs Batman." Bruce swung his legs over the bed's edge. His bare feet hit the floor. Every joint ached, but he stood anyway. "It needs Wonder Woman more." She turned back sharply, just in time to see him stumble. Diana caught him before he hit the ground, her hands gripping his arms hard enough to bruise. For a heartbeat, they stood frozen, her holding him upright, his fingers curled around her wrists. Bruce could feel her pulse racing against his thumbs. Then the bat signal flared to life outside, its beam cutting through the morning haze. Diana exhaled sharply through her nose. "You're in no condition." "Neither are you." She glared. He glared back. A beat. Then Diana's mouth quirked, just slightly, stubborn. Bruce reached for the cane leaning against the bedside table. "You knew that when you—" Diana snatched the cane away and tossed it aside. Before Bruce could protest, she slid an arm around his waist, taking his weight effortlessly. "If we're doing this," she said, "we're doing it properly." Bruce opened his mouth, closed it, nodded once. Together, they moved toward the door, toward the signal, toward whatever came next. The sunlight followed them out.